Hey everyone, and a happy 5th anniversary celebration thing to Nintendo Switch. How is it 5 years old already? I don't get it. So yeah, we're here to talk all about it. Triss and Tom, how excited are you both right now to discuss the legacy and what's coming up next for Nintendo Switch?
I'm pretty excited to look back on it all, but it's also like surprising that it's been 5 years because it really doesn't feel that way to me. But maybe that's just because of the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of distorted all the time.
What do you mean? It feels like 20 years? No. I mean, 5 years, but there's still so much more to look forward to for Switch. So that's why it doesn't feel like that. It's not like we're talking about, oh man, Wii U didn't get the chance it deserved. I mean, Switch is still selling like hotcakes. So
Yeah. I don't even think I actually think it might be outselling hotcakes, actually, Tom. So
I think so, yeah.
yeah. Although if I could get $300 worth of hotcakes at once, that would be, I don't know, a tough comparison. That's a tough choice. Switch or $300 worth of hotcakes. Speaking of which, actually, before I get to that, first off, chat, how's everything sounding? Let us know, so we don't get too deep into this and find out we have some major error or something. Can you hear me, Tom, and Triss okay? And also, we have background music. Let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. If it's too quiet, it's probably okay, but let me know if you can hear it at all, even. But yeah, let us know if everything sounds good. Rebecca says it sounds good. Rando Guy says it sounds great. Marco says yes. Awesome. Good. It's good seeing all of you here. So thanks for hanging out with us as we did give this, just kind of casually talk about the Switch. Now, there is another part of this, though, that I want to get to real quick before we get too deep into this. And that's the fact that to celebrate, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch OLED. That's right. I've got it right here. I've had it for months. I just haven't got around to doing anything with it yet. We're giving this away. So all you have to do to enter is we're giving away technically on Twitter. So there is a link to the tweet in our description. Give that a click. All you have to do is follow us, retweet that tweet, and then reply to it, and then you'll be entered. You do have to be a U.S. citizen, though, just because international stuff is a nightmare. So sorry to our international fans. But otherwise, just follow the directions there, and you might win the Nintendo Switch. We'll be choosing the winner in about a week on March 10th, being Mario Day, baby. What perfect timing, right? And once again, you can win a Nintendo Switch OLED this way. All right. Looks like we just got a super chat from Rafe Alfaro. Once again, thank you so much, Rafe, who says, "Hi guys, happy 5-year Switch anniversary. Hope we get another 5 more of incredible games and content, Pro or Switch 2 along the way, maybe. Cheers." Well, thank you so much, Rafe, and that's a great comment because that's the hope. I actually just posted a video yesterday now, which was the 3rd in Japan, talking about how Nintendo might not be lying about us only being halfway through the Switch's lifespan. It is possible that there is another 5 years left in the Switch. Now, that's not to say there couldn't be another Switch that comes along before then, but I don't think it would. I don't think it would necessarily override the existing Switch entirely. But that might be a fun topic to discuss, perhaps for a little bit later. For right now, though, I do want to focus on the first 5 years. Real quick, Artsy Omni, who is a music expert, is saying they can't hear the music. So let me raise the volume on that.
Artsy, congratulations on finishing that wonderful Mother 3 tribute, and also your game, Gutsy. Congratulations on those two things.
That's right.
Yeah, huge congrats. And also, Artsy, real quick, I saw your email about the Mother thing you guys put together. I wish we could have covered it, but we were just slammed. So, but it was super awesome. And also, I've been trying to avoid, I saw a little bit of it, but I've been trying to avoid too many spoilers from Mother 3, but I'm playing through it right now. So, very slowly. I'm just on chapter 2. In any case, let's begin by discussing the first 5 years of the Switch. And I guess let's go all the way back. Let's talk about the initial Switch reveal and the launch thereof, and even the fact that it felt like an eternity. You know what's funny? These past 5 years went by faster than the 2 years or so we were talking about the NX endlessly. Like, I don't know. Yeah, right? Didn't it feel the same? I don't know if it felt the same to you guys or not. But it felt like, because we were at that point, like, it was already clear the Wii U was winding down years before, we even knew what the Switch was actually going to be, or the NX was going to be, I guess. And, the games weren't coming out super regularly. There wasn't a ton of in the way of third-party or indie support either. And it just felt like a slog getting our way to the Switch reveal. Does anyone else remember those, like, agonizing days?
Yeah, once you kind of hit 2015 was when what's going on with the Wii U? Where's the next thing? And that's also when all the rumors started, because of how bad the Wii U was doing. And that was that point, everything just felt so slow.
Yep.
But now, I mean, I think the slowest year the Switch had was 2018, and that's it. And otherwise, it's been like banger after banger, big release after big release. And, you know, other worldwide circumstances aside that slowed down time, it's been... these 5 years of the Switch have flown by so quickly. In comparison to the Wii U, it's actually really interesting to look back at how differently time felt between these two consoles.
The Wii U felt like 3 lifetimes, and the Switch just felt like a year. Tom, do you feel the same way?
Well, it was a bit of a slog waiting for the Switch to come out because we didn't have so many details at all. Like, they waited so long to reveal anything. It's like, are you guys talking to developers at all? Like, of course they are, but it's not reassuring. And maybe that's just the market. Nintendo kind of sensed the market going to that way where you have to surprise people closer to actual launches and not like having the big reveal like 1 or 2 years in advance. So.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point, because quite often we know about Nintendo's hardware like a year, if not more, in advance, where even if we don't know the full picture, they'll give us like, you know, an inkling of, you know, so to speak. You know, they'll give us like an idea of like, you know, what the hardware is, or you know, what they're aiming for. Like, you know, they even provided like a heads up of a 3D system coming the week before its announcement. The Wii, I recall having like a fairly lengthy reveal time where like they showed off the hardware base first before showing off the controller, but then there were like press impressions of like early demos, you know, even in that era. So you kind of had like some idea of what was coming years before. The Switch, though, we only found out in October, which is what, less than 6 months prior to launch. And even at that point, we didn't even know the whole story. Like, all we knew at that point was whatever was in that 1.5 to 2 minute, 3 minute trailer, and that was it. And then it wasn't until, you know, I think just a couple of months before its launch that they actually started blowing it out more. And that's when I flew to New York for a press event, and we got to play some hands-on time with it. So yeah, it was just very different, and, you know, smart of Nintendo, I think, to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, the time frame was interesting because they first officially teased anything about it. I think it was back with when they finally did the big blowout on Breath of the Wild, and they mentioned, oh, and our next console, currently known as the NX, it'll also be coming to that, but we'll have plenty more details on that later. And that was all we knew on it from like June to October. And then October is when we had that introducing the Nintendo Switch, you know, rooftop party trailer
with Karen,
and which didn't tell us, with Karen, which didn't tell us a ton, all things considered. And then we hit January, where there was the big Switch presentation in Japan. It was live streamed everywhere else. It was really late at night in America, especially in like Europe and other places too. It was really late at night. And then like the next like 2 to 3 days afterwards, or actually just several weeks afterwards, they did like the little press tour with the Switch, where all over the place you can go to different events to give it a try out some of the launch games and things coming to it, or early games at least coming to it. And then it released, you know, 5 years ago today. So once they got started with it, they really started ramping it up with it. But most of their time with the Switch to the public was in that 2-month span.
One of the things was Reggie playing it on the Jimmy Fallon show, for instance.
That's right.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, and actually, it's kind of a good point. It's funny to use like Jimmy Fallon as a sign of anything, but like I think it did kind of show like Nintendo having a better understanding of how to market itself in the modern era at that point. Like, they did a really amazing job during the Wii era, but it felt like they didn't fully transition into what was happening in like the online space and like just the different demographics. And with the Wii U, it just felt like they were completely out of their element in any number of ways. And it felt like they really got their mojo back with like everything involving the Switch. You know, maybe morale was up because they realized, hey, we have a product that's really exciting this time, you know, and everything was just firing on all cylinders. But it is funny looking back though, just how similar, you know, the Wii U was basically a proto Switch. The gamepad is effectively a Switch, just one that you're tethered to within 20 feet of the base unit. So it's funny just how close they were to arriving at the idea of the Switch, you know, years before the Switch, while also being just so far off the mark at the same time. And just how much they, you know, and it makes you wonder, like, was the Wii U a necessary step to get to the Switch, you know? And especially because there's another factor, too, that I've mentioned before. Nintendo, I feel, of course, you know, we're talking theoreticals, so anything's possible in the world of, you know, hypotheticals and whatnot. But I feel like Nintendo was the only company that could have pulled off what the Nintendo Switch was at the time that they did. Because with the Wii U, and it being relatively weak at its time, for its time, that actually allowed Nintendo to treat the Switch as a true successor. It's like, this is our next generation hardware, whereas no other console maker could have pulled that off without it seeming like a step backward. Yeah, it's portable, but it's also weaker than, what came before. And that's something Nintendo didn't even have to bother with. Like, they sidestepped the entire thing entirely, were able to present this as their true next HD console, while having it seem like a step up and not having it seem like a step back in any way.
Yeah, I think I almost feel like the Wii U doing how it did, while disappointing, is what helped that. Because it also made a lot of people want to see something new and interesting from Nintendo. And I feel like if we didn't have the Wii U, and we went from the Wii to the Switch, I feel like it would have been very different.
Yeah. Tom's thinking.
I'm wondering what that reality would have been like. I think people would have been blown away by the portability of it and stuff, and I think the handheld factor might have been more of a shock for sure. It depends if the 3DS would have been dead at that point or not, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what complicates things is it's impossible for Nintendo to have delivered a Switch at the time that they did the Wii U. The technology just wasn't there at that point.
Right.
So if Nintendo, what would have happened if Nintendo just rolled out the Wii for another 4 years somehow? And if they were, I guess they could have presented that as a Switch. I mean, maybe it would have been better. Who knows? I still remember I forget what journalist it was or outlet it was, but there was some, I mean, maybe just general rumblings of there were like an HD Switch for years, And I wonder if that might have been a better route to go than the Wii U route. Like, have
HD Wii, you mean?
Yeah, have an HD Wii that is just a continuation rather than a new platform or new ecosystem. Like, it kind of ties into the video again I just did recently on the Switch, and why I think the next successor it makes more sense to have it be an upgrade along the lines of like a PS4 Pro or Game Boy Color, where it's still basically a Switch. Like, it still plays the same games. Games made for it also continue to work on the Switch, but have enhancements on the newer one. But it doesn't make sense to throw away, the entire giant demographic that they have now. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I want to focus on the past of the Switch so far.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move up. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say quickly, though, on the Wii, though, it was kind of like everyone who bought one for Wii Sports, whatever, they were kind of like, okay, I'm done. I never have to buy any other game again. And it was kind of losing momentum at the end. So even if it was like a Wii HD, Nintendo at the time was doing the reverse and like trying to get a super low price point and cutting out features. So it's tough to say.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of funny that at the time when they should have been releasing, when they probably should have been releasing a Wii HD, they released like the Wii Mini and it had like no Wi-Fi or whatever. It's hilarious. But although apparently I was looking into this, that version in particular was the one that they kept making for years after, long after they stopped making the original Switch. So maybe Nintendo was onto something there. Who knows? At least in terms of like maintaining the Wii as a platform. Real quick, there was a super chat a little while ago from the Beastly for $2 who says, "You think that a 3D Yoshi game is possible?" Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially in an age where we're finally getting a 3D Kirby. Yeah, I mean, and actually, I mean, we actually already had a 3D Yoshi too. Yoshi's Crafted World was kind of a 3D Yoshi.
In Unreal, too.
Yeah, right, Unreal Engine, right.
That's true.
So maybe it wasn't quite as much as I mean, I think what they're asking for though is like more of a truer, like Mario type of 3D game, I suppose. Like a little bit more open, more free roaming, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. You look at Yoshi and Kirby, like with the wool on both of them, they like to follow each other, so it is possible.
That's a good point, actually. So maybe Kirby's breaking the glass ceiling there for Yoshi for these old franchises to finally go into 3D. So
that would be nice. That would be nice. I think Yoshi is one of those series though that outside of like the Yoshi Island games, because there's quite a few of those, Yoshi kind of once it appears, it's kind of gone for a while. The last 10 years have been more interesting with that. With you had Yoshi's New Island, and then you had Woolly World, and then the 3DS port of Woolly World like a year or two later, and then Crafted World. But Yoshi also has that problem of they announce it way too early. Like I think every console Yoshi game, the last few generations, is announced and then like it's gone for 2 years, and then it finally comes out.
Right. there was some IP. I forget what it was. I was trying to think of it a few days ago. It was like the sign of the platform being on its deathbed. Like whenever this one particular game hits, you know, oh, that system's on its way out. I forget what it is. It's bugging me. There's some game.
Dr. Mario.
Yeah, maybe maybe it is. That's why we haven't seen a true successor on Switch yet. So when you see Dr. Mario, whatever it is, then you know the end is near. All right, so as part of this whole 5th anniversary, of course, I want to look back at like the launch period, and you know, looking back, the Switch had like a pretty respectable launch. Like it had, I forget how many games. It was at least I think 24 games, among which we had like Street Fighter, Snipper Clips, right?
Yeah, yep. Snipper Clips is there.
Thank you. Yep. 1-2 Switch. Who can forget that? But of course, also Breath of the Wild, which is a game that is still like we're still feeling its effects to this day, and we probably will be for quite some time to come, if not perpetually, because we're still seeing like new open-ended games, new open-world games, like being compared to Breath of the Wild, and I wonder, could the Switch have been as nearly a success as it has without Breath of the Wild? Like, was that required in order to get the Switch to where it is?
The only reason why I can't say yes to that is because it did also launch on the Wii U. Granted, it wasn't going to sell super on the Wii U, but it wasn't a game made exclusively for the Switch. So I don't feel like I can comfortably say, like, yes, this was what the Switch needed to do well. Considering a month out from launch day was Mario Kart, I kind of feel like if Breath of the Wild was if it either ended up unfortunately missing the Switch, then coming later on as a port, or coming later in this first year, I don't think it would have made... obviously, there would have been a huge surge in sales when that happened. But I don't feel like Breath of the Wild is what made the first year and launch of the Switch so successful, if that makes sense.
Any thoughts, Tom?
I think though Breath of the Wild is kind of a factor in helping it get momentum quickly. I didn't pre-order a Switch, and I waited for midnight launch, and I got Breath of the Wild, but I think that was before everyone realized how good it was and heard the buzz about it. So I got in that tiny window to actually get a Switch before they sold out. And the momentum helps. Like Mario Kart definitely would have been there, but I don't think, even though it was really good, not as exciting as Breath of the Wild for buzz.
Yeah.
Brand new Zelda game, they usually sell consoles. Fair. So like, did Twilight Princess do that with the Wii?
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Yeah, because they had
the
exact same Breath of the Wild setup too.
Okay.
Like it was originally planned for GameCube before being moved to the Wii. So yeah, I think in both cases it's crucial to. Well, actually, I take that back. It was less important on the Wii. I think it was big for the Switch though. I totally get what you're saying, Tris. But I think the fact that Mario Kart 8 didn't help sell Wii U, or rather, I take that back, didn't help make it a massive success, kind of shows that isn't what was driving the Switch sales, at least in my opinion.
Not right away, at least.
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh, it's been, don't get me wrong, it's been absolutely a big factor in like helping it maintain momentum, and I think that's been like a very much a case of like a perfectly balanced relationship where like they complement each other. Like people buy the Switch for Mario Kart, and Mario Kart sells because people are buying the Switch, you know?
Yeah.
But I think for that early momentum, I think Breath of the Wild was essential. Because here you had, it wasn't just a Zelda game. It was a revelation in terms of what you can do in the open world space. Like it hit at a time like open world is like, you know, the open world had been around for a few years at that point, largely thanks to Skyrim. But this was like the next big game in that space, and really kind of showed what more you can do with it. And so it looked great. It was doing brand new things, like, you know, with physics and how those can influence the gameplay. You know, how you can, like, how it's a giant sandbox, like a toy box, if you will, and you can, it really just like broadened the horizon of everything. And I think the Switch needed that kind of AAA experience to prove that that the Switch is a capable system. You know, even though yes, the Wii U can run it, I think you needed that kind of AAA game to demonstrate that, like, yeah, this is a serious next-gen game. And I think just having Mario Kart even at launch wouldn't have been enough. Mario Kart sells systems, absolutely, but I think it would continue to cater to the same existing Nintendo demographic that's always been there. That's probably why the Wii U was able to sell as much, you know, as much as it did. because of Mario Kart. But I think Breath of the Wild is what helped it like extend well beyond Nintendo's typical demographic. My dad bought it, has a Switch, and he loves Breath of the Wild. He doesn't play games like that. Well, he does now, but at the time he didn't. Exactly, it was like Resident Evil 4, and that was basically it. So yeah, and I think Breath of the Wild is essentially the Wii Sports of the Switch. As funny as that is kind of to say, it was just, I think it was critical. But I could be wrong. Maybe the Switch would have done fine without it. But I think in order to reach the level it has, I think you kind of needed everything to go right in that first year, which included having Breath of the Wild, included having Mario Kart there, having Mario Odyssey even. These were all like that first year was insane. That was an insanely good first year for Nintendo for a brand new hardware.
It was. It really was. And we haven't even mentioned all the titles yet that helped make it such a strong first year for it. But even looking at the other launch day titles, though, Breath of the Wild really was the biggest of the launch titles. And I don't know what they tried to. I guess I know what they tried to do with it, but 1-2 Switch is not Wii Sports. It was never going to move consoles in the same way Wii Sports did. Maybe if they launched with Nintendo Switch Sports, I don't know. But
It is funny that, we're 5 years in, and we're only now getting the proper Wii Sports successor on Switch, which, I'm excited for, but...
It says a lot about where we are with the console's lifespan, honestly, and life cycle.
It does.
I think, at least.
Yeah, no, it really does. And kind of to that point, what have been some of your highlights of the past 5 years? Like, do any moments in particular stand out to you about the past 5 years of the Switch?
I'll let Tom go first.
With me, you had sniffer clips at launch. That was the one I reviewed. That was just a hilarious little indie game. And
real quick, actually, sorry, Tom, not to interrupt you, but sniffer clips was like a great sign of things to come. Like, because that was essentially an indie game, which Nintendo, I think, helped publish.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah, and of course, the Switch has been huge for a lot of indies. Almost to the point where there's almost too much indies now, and you have the opposite problem where there's too much competition. But point is, Switch has been like a very successful system for indies, which has in turn helped the Switch out. Like with having Mina the Hollower come to Switch, right?
That's not confirmed yet.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Shovel Knight: Spectre of Torment was right there at the Switch launch. That's what it launched on. So
just to be clear, I have no insider knowledge. I don't know if that's Switch or not. I assume it will be, but
we assume, they just.
They want it to be, probably. But...
In any ways, continue, Tom.
And I guess a sign of Nintendo working with indies later for things like Cadence of Hyrule, too.
Right.
So
that's true.
Paving the way for that.
So other highlights, though, of the first 5 years for you?
First 5 years, well, ARMS. I liked ARMS a lot coming up. That was like a unique one. Of course, the problem is made by the same team that kind of does Mario Kart. So even though it sold 1 million copies, we're probably not getting a sequel for a while.
We need a ARMS kart racing crossover game. I want a kart racing game where you punch ARMS out like 20 feet ahead of you and just grab the... That's how you do it! You can just grab the guy in first place and chuck him behind you. That's how you balance it.
Who needs blue shells when you have your hands?
Exactly. Would that not be amazing? Oh my god. They screwed up making a fighting game. We need an ARMS kart racing game, so...
Just imagine if you had a second camera to like look as the arms extending forward and like keep going as long as you have a certain boost and grab person.
It's like you're having. Remember the seeker missiles in Perfect Dark? I'm imagining the you get 2 picture-in-pictures, one for each arm, and you're aiming them remotely. Oh my god, that'd be great. And also, real quick, Tom. Having ARMS even. Like I know it wasn't the best-selling game, though it did respectably for a brand new IP. And I think having it too was another important step for the Switch. Like it showed Nintendo wasn't just relying on their existing series. Like they were willing to try new things too. And we've got a fair amount of that over the past 5 years as well. But continue with your highlights.
Mario Odyssey getting a true Mario game on the system. That's huge. I mean, Wii U didn't really have one of those. And Celeste was really great. I know it was on different platforms, but it was really big on Switch. Ring Fit, like an actual compared to I'm calling it Wii Fit now for some reason, but you know what I mean. Compared to that, you can actually exercise with Ring Fit. So that was a great thing to have for me personally. So the funny thing with Switch though is how many more memories are probably yet still going to come even this year.
Right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot. I can tell there's gonna be a lot.
Yeah. What are your some? if I seem out of it, by the way, chat, it's because I was up to 7 a.m. working on Kirby coverage. So apologies if I fall asleep during this. Tris, what are some of your favorite memories over the past 5 years?
Well, I do want to highlight the fact that even before the Switch launched, but in the lead up to it, I got into one of those fan events where where Nintendo came to New York and you actually got to go in and try the Switch early, and that was such a pleasant experience, and that's what made me feel like super duper excited for it. I actually haven't gotten a chance to try it. But in terms of like over the years, some of the highlights, I mean, there's been great titles like every year, and seeing so many series that people thought were dead or dying or on their way out. I mean, take Paper Mario, for example, because that's one of my favorite game series. With how Sticker Star did, and then how Color Splash did on the dying Wii U at the end of the Wii U's life cycle, I was convinced we were never going to see another Paper Mario game after all that. But we got Origami King.
Yep. Shadow
announced, and that was an incredible experience because honestly that went on to be one of my favorite games in the series. It was really, really fun to keep up with that, and it showed that that was the game that kind of proved Nintendo actually doesn't need their directs to make their announcements. They can make a big announcement and they'd be fine. And then they went on to do that again with Hyrule Warriors like 2 months later. There's been some really fun big titles that you can tell they just want more people to experience. And that's been part of the highlight of like seeing great games from the Wii U, for example, just get ported, get brought over to it. So even more people get to experience them, and having most of the games I loved on that console, except Wind Waker, on the Switch is a really good feeling, because having one place to play most of the things I want to play is just a really good feeling. I think one of the other biggest highlights I would have to say would be Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Also around that same time, I guess. I really got into that game at the end of college, like the original Xenoblade Chronicles on Wii. And I was most of the way through my playthrough when they announced it. And I was already like really, really loving the game. So seeing that it was going to get brought to what had already become my favorite console in HD with beautiful visuals, I was like completely in love with the game already. And knowing I was going to get that special moment again with it was really, really nice. It's just been nice to see how much support the Switch has gotten with its library compared to even, I mean, not even just the Wii U, even the Wii when you kind of look at some of the things. Some of the titles we're getting now are sequels to things that are back on the Wii, but we've already gotten things that weren't on the Wii, like Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's Mansion? It's right there on the map.
It definitely is, but yeah, that was another huge highlight for me. That's not to say there isn't highlights from the past few years. It's just I'm looking back more than 6 months or 1 year.
Yeah, it says a lot, I think, that there is so much to think about with the Switch that I can't even remember it all. Like, there is so much that's come out over the years. Like, Nintendo's done a great job, by and large, avoiding the typical droughts that hit some of their previous systems. And that's probably partially by design of the fact that the Switch combines their handheld and console gaming. Thereby, they don't have to split their focus between two different platforms. So I think that was a massive boon for the Switch in terms of developer support, and for the fans makes it way easier. Especially as one, for me, like I was kind of like growing tired of the handheld side of things. Like I just wasn't a fan of being forced to play a game on a tiny system when I'd rather playing on my TV. And now we had that choice. You can play these games however you want, with a handful of exceptions that require like Joy-Cons or whatever. But which is great. So yeah, so it's amazing that even now, as we're entering its 6th year, we have what might be one of Nintendo's most stacked years up to this point, where I think it's 13 titles confirmed for the remainder of the year, not even accounting for titles that have already released, like Pokemon Legends. And then, of course, that's not even to account for other games that haven't been revealed yet, of which there probably are at least a few more left. And that is nuts. Like, this does not feel like a console that's entering its 6th year. Like, not only does it not feel like it's been 5 years, as we said, it does not feel like we're entering what would typically be the end of a Nintendo console's lifespan. Like, it seems like we are, like, the more, even though, like, in terms of, like, looking at just a block of time, it sounds absurd for Nintendo to be saying, yeah, we're only at its midpoint. And the more you think about it, it's like, yeah, actually, that kind of does make sense, you know? And that's exciting, the fact that we have so much still coming. Like, look at today, even. Look at freaking today, on the Switch's anniversary, where we're getting previews and demos of Kirby and reviews for Triangle Strategy, which is a Nintendo-published title coming out tomorrow. And both games look amazing still. Like, obviously they're not, no one would mistake them for like a next gen, like, you know, Series X title or something.
Right.
But still looks amazing, like really good for what it is. And beyond that, it's just fun to play, as you can already tell if you played. Like, all the accolades from the trailer have been nothing but like raving from what I've seen. It just really goes to show that, like, yeah, it's an older system, but it doesn't feel like it. And that's partially because, too, it's still unique. Like, it still stands alone, I think. It only now has its first real competitor in the form of a Switch deck. And I think even that is targeting a different demographic. So it's like, why would Nintendo replace it when they have a good thing going with little competition on the horizon and a super strong market base with these with over 100 million of them being out there? They just outsold the Wii, and they have far more momentum at this point than the Wii did in its final years.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with the Steam Deck 2. Like, you can't even
with Steam
really
Deck
call
2, we just had the Steam Deck 1.
Steam Deck as well. you can't even really call that one a competitor, because it really is a different audience. I mean, it's not, you don't see games being made exclusively for the Steam Deck. It's, right, you know, here's all your PC games, now you can play them on the go, and there you go. But the market really still is Nintendo's in terms of the handheld, the hybrid gaming of it all. Unless Sony steps back into the ring with the PS Vita 2 and actually does something good with it, I don't think we need to worry about a competition to specifically what the Switch excels at.
Yeah, I mean, Steam Deck, even the Aperture Desk job, that you can play it on your PC with the controller. So it's like, Valve doesn't want to make exclusives for it. It's just going to be another option for people to play, but the price point is way different. So if Sony made something, I would just see that being like a cloud type streaming alternative. Like, you'd have to have it so it could do like PlayStation like games on the go. But that'd be interesting if Sony ever revisits that ring, if they're willing to. But I don't see that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, part of the challenge ties into what I was commenting on earlier, where like Sony and Microsoft can't really make a portable system without it seeming like a step back from what they currently make, because they just can't make it powerful enough. Now, with that being said, Microsoft already has kind of sidestepped the entire thing entirely through the xCloud, where you can basically stream your entire library of games to, you know, a multitude of devices, which is kind of, you know, what you could consider to be in some way competition. But a bigger point is, I think one of you was touching on the fact that, like, with a Steam Deck, you know, they're not making exclusives for this thing. Like, it just allows you to play your existing library that you already have anywhere you want, which is awesome. That's not to undermine it. It's just like, inherently, it's a little less exciting as a device, because like when it comes to the Switch, you need that legally to play Nintendo games, and that's the only way you can, you know, really play these things, you know. And so any new game that comes to the Switch is an ad for the platform itself, and vice versa. You know, if you want, you know, they just really, like, Nintendo's hardware and software work together to kind of like boost each other and like form a greater whole. You know, it can also work in the opposite way too when you have the Wii U, where they just drag each other down. It's just really interesting to see that, like, Nintendo has this corner of the market, like, or this sector of the market really cornered for now, and it's hard to imagine how any of the other three, or two rather, the big two right now, can really compete with Nintendo at this point. In that sense, obviously they're all competition in one way or the other, and it kind of works out and I wonder if it works out to the benefit of the other platforms. That Nintendo is kind of doing its own thing here, whereas the others are like, oh, okay, well, we're focusing on the higher end market. We don't have to worry about Nintendo, you know, even if they are all ultimately competing for time and the same time and money, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that makes perfect sense. But I think it's nice to see where we're at now with all of this, is very different than where it was with like the Wii, the GameCube, like those eras with the competitions. Like it's really different now, and it's kind of refreshing. Like we don't look at every PS4 game or PS5 game rather and be like, oh, if only that could come to the Switch. Like with each one, like we know why games can't go back and forth to every single console. We know why everything can't be multi-plat and why all the different exclusives exist a bit more now than we did before. And I think there's this weird sort of harmony to it all right now. And I guess that almost comes back to I think that's like the Game Awards, and we had the big three all on stage. We're in a completely different era of gaming right now, honestly.
Well, there's that, and there's the weirdness of Microsoft and Sony buying companies that have agreements to release games on the other system that they will say, like, hey, we'll honor that, we'll follow it up, you get Ghostwire Tokyo.
Well, and it's funny, too, but we're also seeing that now to a degree with Sony as well, where MLB The Show is ending up on other non-Sony platforms, you know? So it is kind of funny to see, like, it does seem like the barriers of what competition is kind of even lessening by the day, even if it's not always fully intentional on behalf of the companies, because it involves the contracts and whatnot. But we've already seen Nintendo and Microsoft working together like really closely at points. More so to Nintendo's benefit than Microsoft, at least front-facing wise. But still, it's fun to see, and I think it is partly because they don't see each other as direct competition. They are kind of doing different things, and they're appealing to different segments of the demographics for different reasons. Real quick, we did get a super chat from Clubosaurus Rex for $5. Thank you, Clubosaurus Rex, who says, my scrapbook is going great, Andre. I wish I could show you a picture. Well, awesome. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. Send me a picture over, I don't know, Twitter or email, however, and I'd love to check it out at some point. So thanks for the super chat. Also, I just want to call out another comment from Octoboy a little while ago. He says, it took me about this long to learn how to spell Odyssey, LOL. Odyssey is a tricky one, I get that. I've known, though, only because I'm a 2001 Space Odyssey fan, so I mastered that when I was younger. But if I hadn't, I probably would have struggled with that as well. I only recently finally committed to memory how to spell definitely. I would screw that up forever. I would just let spell check carry me through. But finally, I'm like, I'm tired of this. I'm gonna learn how to spell definitely. So, in any case, let's go ahead and move on to. We've already kind of started talking about it, but let's look into the future of the Switch. So Nintendo's officially said they're at the midway point in the cycle. Now, I already put forth my argument a little bit in this discussion, but I put together a whole video for it. But what do you guys think? Do you think Nintendo could have the Switch, could make the Switch last for another 5 years? Like, what do you think that looks like? What do you think the future of the Switch looks like, for the next few years from this point? Let's start off with you, Tris, with your thoughts on that.
So, I definitely, I could see it lasting another 5, but it's sort of wavers. Like, I feel like, confidently, the Switch will go another 3, to the end of 2024, no problem. But 2025 technically. It'll go another 3, no problem. But that's when we're gonna start to see some wavering. We're gonna start to see, maybe not as bad as the Wii U, but maybe later Wii era, where titles start to be a little more sparse, and they're not quite all the big hitters that people wanted. And it starts to kind of dip down a bit more. I say 2 years because I feel like they won't immediately just roll out the next thing to increase the momentum yet again. They'll probably want to wait until it is ready, and they'll probably want to finish up their library, in quotes, for Switch, however they end up going about, not porting everything to the next thing immediately. I think once you hit 4 or 5 years, it's going to be a bit shaky. But I could see them choosing to write it out for another 5.
Well, with me, it's it depends on a couple of factors. I like 112's comment. The Switch will probably start delving into more B-tier franchises in terms of sales, maybe some smaller scale projects. I'm all for that if that means Rhythm Heaven on Switch. I love when Nintendo just experiments, just goes, whatever, just puts crazy things like WarioWare out there. So 5 years, that depends. Does Nintendo have the system go for another 3 years and release another system? Does Nintendo try the same level of hardware power, or does it do a Switch 2, Switch Pro towards the end to extend it longer? They did that with 3DS. Technically 3DS to DS is almost like that, or do they have another gimmick that they could put onto the Switch and yet make it different enough so people know they have to buy it, and it's not like a Wii U Wii situation. There's a
Labo VR.
yeah, there's a lot of different factors to it. What I would worry about is if Nintendo like shuts it down on Switch game development, if the next thing is radically different and we get a drought for a year or so, just so they have titles ready for whatever's next. That's the only thing I worry about, but they don't have two platforms going right now, unless you consider mobile. I don't think that's really a concern at this point.
Real quick, Pokemario, I see you quoting Encanto. Don't leave, get that out of here. It's distracting. Still catchy music.
I just watched it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, right. I need to rewatch it now. See, you've already derailed the whole thing. Thanks, Pokemario. No, I think you bring us some good points, Tom. I mean, I think it's, I guess ultimately, like, even a few years ago, I mean, there've been rumblings of a Switch Pro for forever now, and Nintendo has themselves confirmed that they're working on a new system, which isn't a surprise because they've also said they're always working on a new system. Of course they are. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense to throw away this massive amount of momentum you have. And that's why I think whenever a successor does come, which, by the way, Nintendo's already committed to basically at least 2 more years of the Switch through the Boost Course DLC, and I don't think they're going to cut it off there. Yeah. I think they're going to... it doesn't make sense to just to halt the momentum on one platform and start on another, because it's always a risk when you do that, and it doesn't make... And most of their money comes from selling software, so why would you purposefully, kill off a platform prematurely in order to try and maintain on another? It just doesn't make sense. So I really do think whenever they end up releasing a successor, which could be really at any time, I do think that we would see support across both, with it eventually maybe with exclusives down the line coming only to the new one. Much like with the Game Boy Color. I think the Game Boy Color really is one of the best examples out there. Like, it maintained full compatibility with the existing library. Most games that came out worked on both, but there were some exclusives that worked on the Game Boy Color. The only difference in that case was they killed all the Game Boy Color fast because of the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna do that this time. I think whatever the next Switch ends up being called, whether it's Switch Pro or Switch 2, I think we're gonna be stuck with that for a while. And I think that's because it's also gonna be a continuation of the existing Switch. And so I think it is technically possible that we will get Switch games even its 10th year from this point. Maybe not all of them, maybe not even mostly from Nintendo, but I think Switch will still have support from third parties and indies, at least entering its 9th and 10th year. Which is exciting, you know? Like, again, I'm playing Kirby, people are playing Kirby right now, and it looks great, it looks fine. Yeah, it has a few shortcomings, but it's a gorgeous game, it's a ton of fun, and I don't really think it's lacking anything that a Switch Pro would fix, you know? Like, it may address a few small technical shortcomings, but the game would magically become way better as a result, you know?
Yeah, it does run the risk of, you know, when a hardware becomes older and older, it's harder to keep up with, you know, the best things for it. Now, sure, the Switch has never been the high-end, perfect hardware that its competitors, in quotes, are, but it does kind of start to run that risk of, if they don't do some sort of pro or better model within a few years from now, things are going to start to feel more and more dated, and there's only so many ways they can push the hardware, graphically and visually, and in general just to its power, which I almost feel like what we'll end up seeing will be a mix of what happened with the 3DS to new 3DS, and the 3DS coexisting with the Switch, where in 3 to 4 years' time, I think we'll see some sort of successor to the Switch, but kind of like what the Wii U did, where you can transfer everything from the Wii to the Wii U when you had like the Wii menu you can re-access. It'll be backwards compatible with the Switch, and all of the Switch stuff will still be there, still getting new things and whatnot, just alongside whatever its successor is, until it trickles out.
I mean, we've already seen, I think with Nintendo rolling out improvements to how their online accounts work largely when the Switch Lite hit, I think it kind of showed a template for how the future is going to work, including the Nintendo Switch Online service. Like, they just launched the expansion pack, that would make zero sense if that weren't going. If they're if it wouldn't also work on a successor that's due in the near future. So in either case, it shows like the longevity of the existing Switch, I think, and the platform that they're setting up, and that I don't think they're planning on replacing everything again. Like, it seems foolish to start again from ground zero in terms of OS and online support and game support when you can just continue it and have it be a more gradual type thing, where you just log in with your account and then download the games you've already bought,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and real quick, Black Ninja had your $2 super chat. Thank you. That was hilarious. Said Ubisoft Just Dance Nintendo Switch in 2028.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Nintendo could stop supporting the Switch tomorrow, and we'd still have Just Dance coming out in 2028. Like, you can't kill Just Dance. That will always
That's
be.
still on Wii.
I was gonna say when did Just Dance stop coming to the Wii? Because
I think it finally
remember
ended, like 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, yeah, I remember it was somewhere around there. I remember there was at least 1 year where it was releasing on the Wii and the Switch, and it just skipped the Wii U entirely.
Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing. That is hilarious. I think the Wii outlasted the Switch, which is amazing. So.
The Wii outlasted the Wii U, which is.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Like I said, I'm operating at 4 hours of sleep after staying up for 24. So.
That's why we're here to help.
Exactly. Yeah. So what are we looking forward to of the games that we know about? What are you most excited for in this exact moment? As I mentioned, we know of at least 13 games, first-party games published this year. Not even counting Metroid Prime 4. If you count that, possibly, that's 14 right there. So yeah, which ones are we most excited for?
Oh boy, that's tough. Because there's some really good ones. I mean, it feels a bit of a cop-out, but I mean, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, whenever we learn what that's called, with how big and special Breath of the Wild was, that sequel is going to be great. And I'm sure we're all really excited for that one, and it's almost a non-answer because of course. Any Zelda fan right now that loves Breath of the Wild is eagerly awaiting that one. But other than that, I do want to say Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Because I initially didn't think we were going to get like a 3 on the Switch's life cycle. I thought maybe they would remake X and then we wouldn't see 3 until like a launch title for the next console, however many years down the line. But seeing a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that's taking that world, or I guess those worlds, because it's 1 and 2, and doing so much more with them, I'm really excited to see what happens with that.
I'm simple. I'm looking forward to Kirby and Advance Wars coming up, and a ton of new Mario Kart tracks to keep playing that to kind of replace the hype of new characters in Smash. That Mario Kart has kind of replaced that slightly. It's not the same, but it's still like something that I can just keep playing with friends forever. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm so hyped for the Mario Kart and Kirby.
So yeah, the lack of horsepower in particular, Tom, doesn't affect the kind of games you're interested in anyway. So
no,
yeah.
I mean Dr. Mario, that's going to come out on NSO soon. I can take you on in that, Andre. You're going down.
But Andre, there is good horsepower. Haven't you seen how fast you can go in 200cc in Mario Kart?
Good point. Yeah, that's true. Especially, is there a horse vehicle in that game? Yeah. Doesn't Link have? Is there a horse vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the Master Cycle where it's horse-like.
There we go. Perfect. So yeah, Tris. So you kind of brought up something too, like the fact that we're still getting these major installments to series on the existing hardware, like Xenoblade 3 and Breath of the Wild 2. I think once again kind of shows Nintendo's commitment to the existing platform. Like, that is stuff that they could easily hold off until a successor, or like they have already for Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess before that. And I still don't think it's impossible that that is what they do for Breath of the Wild 2. I wouldn't bet on it, but I don't think it's impossible. Because like I said before, I'm not 100% sure it's even going to make it this year. Maybe it will, and if it doesn't though, I think it's possible that it could accompany a Switch Pro, or maybe it will be a title that takes advantage of it whenever it launches down the line. But in any case, again, I'm not expecting a successor anytime necessarily soon. I'm just pointing out that like anything's possible here. But I think it does show like just how the strength of this platform, that all these major games are coming out on the current Switch, and presumably also even the next Mario 2 or whatever is coming from the Mario team, which they've been awfully quiet for years now. Like, we're coming up on Mario Odyssey's 5th anniversary, and granted, they did have 3D World and Bowser's Fury. I somehow doubt that was like a full team commitment for all those years. So I'm pretty sure they have at least something else in the works. There've been rumblings, of course, of a Donkey Kong game, which, if that ends up being the case, hey, I'm all about that. But I'm excited to see what the heck it is that they're working on, and it has also been, by the end of this year, it will have been 2 years since Bowser's Fury as well. So there is a chance that we see their next project this year, or sometime, hopefully, next year. Hopefully it's not much longer than that, because it's getting ridiculous at this point. And then, of course, there's Metroid Prime 4. Where the heck's going on with that? But there have been, like, some light teases of that game recently with
finally
new concept art. Finally, right. Like, something that would be almost pointless for any other game to cover is like, oh, this is something big for Metroid Prime 4, but they're talking about it. So maybe this year's E3 is it. Maybe we could see it this year, even if it's not for release this year.
Whatever shape and form E3 takes this year, yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's more referring to the general E3 time.
Yeah.
And
Summer
again,
games
kind of to that point, like, once again, there are games that are going to be announced, surely, for this year that we don't know about yet. And that's just wild. Like, the Switch is so jam-packed this year. And I wonder if that's partially just because of the pandemic. Like, it still could be some fallout from games' development cycles being, affected by that, and everyone working from home for a while, if not continually to this day. And someone commented earlier, I've lost track of the comment, but they mentioned that 2020 was a big boon for Nintendo, which, was it 2020 or 2021? No, 2020, yeah, right, 2020. Especially with Animal Crossing coming out then, which was, perfect timing for that. And I think that really did help Nintendo reach an even broader demographic than they may have otherwise. Like, Nintendo's, like, key IPs are hitting even bigger fan bases than they ever have before, reaching new people. And it just seems to compound it, because those people who buy into the Switch for whatever game are then playing other games, and it's broadening the types of experience that they're getting and the people that they share it with. And it just seems like there's no end in sight for the Switch. Like, it's just wild to see a platform selling this well, this long into its lifespan.
Yeah. Real quick, 112 reminded us of Mario Strikers is looking insanely awesome.
Yes.
I said next level is going to kill it. We're not sure if it's the next level yet, even though it's like 99% likely. We are sure now?
Yeah, we are sure. One of the eShop pages actually lists them as...
Okay, great.
I didn't see that in our news Discord. Someone's slipping! In any case.
I don't remember how long ago that was, but it was like... It was a while back, apparently. But apparently it is indeed next level.
I mean, it was...
Okay, well, that's great to know.
Yeah, I mean... Who else can make Mario Strikers? Like,
exactly.
No one else can embolden that energy that we need for Mario Strikers. Real quick, since we're pretty deep into this, and we're probably nearing the end, I suppose. Just want to remind everyone that for the 5th anniversary, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch OLED. Don't be fooled by the red and blue Joy-Cons. It's an OLED. We are giving this away. There are details in the description. We're giving away via Twitter, so go check out the link there. Just follow GameXplain on Twitter. Retweet that link or that tweet, and then reply to it, and then you'll be entered in a random giveaway they'll be giving away in a week on March 10th, being Mario Day, which is exciting. So yeah, go do that if you want to Switch OLED potentially. All right, what else? What else about the Switch do we need to talk about that we haven't yet?
Surprisingly, outside of the mention with Mario Kart replacing it, we haven't actually touched upon Smash at all, and how big that's been.
Yeah. I know.
And the fact that it's done now.
It's done. I mean, that's why. I think that's partially why. It's just I've accepted it. Mm-hmm. Smash is over.
Yeah.
But I mean, I say that jokingly because Smash will never be over. Yes, we know that this is the end for Smash for now. There will be another down the line, whether it's from Sakurai or someone else or in some other form. There's no way There's no way that's the end of Smash. So I guess what do you think we could see? Like, do you think we could see Smash again on Switch, like on this current platform? What do you think? What do you think the future of Smash could be?
On Switch specifically, I don't think we'll see anything other than maybe a complete edition of Ultimate releasing, where it's like all the DLC packed into the box kind of thing. And finally rounding out and finishing all the amiibo, which they'll probably just they'll just take the rest of the Switch's life cycle to finish all the DLC amiibo, because the Steve amiibo got delayed. And who knows if we're even going to get the ones after that of Sephiroth, Kazuya, Pyra, Mithra, and Sora. Who knows if we're even going to get those, but they'll probably do like one a year for each of those. So it we might see Smash in spirit, hot spirits of Smash, but through the use of Amiibo and maybe a complete edition. But I don't think we'll see a new Smash and a new entry in Smash until maybe a year or two into the next console lifecycle, whenever that is.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Anything else, Tom?
I was hoping that. So I think we'll probably see nothing for Smash. I hope we see something by Sakurai before the end of this. Maybe 5 more years for Switch fan. That's what I hope. And I hope
Sakurai's
it's
going to be the one to reboot F-Zero.
I will take it. Just incorporate Nintendo characters into F-Zero. It wouldn't make any sense, but whatever. Smash F-Zero. I think Smash is going to go on a bit of a break. So I think we will get it on. I don't think we'll get it exclusively on the current hardware. I think it is possible that whenever the next system comes out, it would launch then on both, possibly, if not exclusively on whatever the next one is. But I do think it's possible that they try something new with Smash as well. Like, maybe like a spin-off type series where it's clear that it's not a mainline game, but they're still able to use the brand to kind of market it. I think it'd be fun to kind of explore ideas of what that could be in maybe a future down the line. We may already have to an extent. I forget. But in any case, I think it's gonna be a few years before we see Smash, which I think is a good thing. Honestly, I'm good with a break. Smash is fine as it is. Like, it's good. It's set. We don't need more Smash. I know some people would kill for DLC for it to arrive for it forever. I'm like, I'm good. It's great. I don't need more. Like, there are fighters in that game that I've barely even touched. Like, there's enough in there that it could keep me busy for a while if I really wanted to.
It's a really nice feeling to go into Nintendo Directs not anticipating Smash reviews.
It kind of is. It's almost like a weight off our shoulders, right? Like, that we did, like, it almost felt like, well, who's it gonna be this time? It's like we don't have to worry about that anymore, which is kind of nice. It's like, well, it kind of like opens up the spectrum of what could be announced now. And also, I'm really excited for, as you kind of think touched on earlier, one of you, for what Sakurai could be working on next. And dear God, I really hope it isn't Smash. I mean, ultimately, I want Sakurai to do whatever he wants to do. Personally, I want something different. I want... The Sakurai's made some amazing non-Smash games as well, including Kirby Air Ride, and now that we're entering, the 30th anniversary of Kirby, I would love to see them do maybe more with that. But hey, just anything else with Sakurai would be amazing to see. So, whether it's in the form of Kid Icarus, or a return... Medios, I was gonna throw it out, or something else new entirely, Hey, that'd be great, so... Alright, anything else about Switch that anyone here wants to comment on or bring up?
Been an incredible 5 years. Here's to the rest.
Yep.
It has been. Yeah, it's still wild to me that it's been that long. Like, that's over, or not over. That's over a half. I keep saying that. Hold on, I can't even do my math right now. It's a little under half of GameXplain's lifespan, which is weird to me because at the time the Switch came out, like, it felt like we'd been doing it forever. And now 5 years after that, it's like, dang, where'd the time go? I don't get it. I don't like time. I don't like how it moves around like this. And we just have Majora's Mask where you can reset time. It's like, if only we could do it. If only real life could work that way. But yeah, it's been an amazing 5 years for the Switch, and it's great and it's fun to see just how different the state of Nintendo is now than it was 5 years ago, or a little over 5 years ago, where like it seemed like they were on their deathbed. Obviously they weren't, but that was a common rhetoric where, oh, Nintendo's dying, can they recover from the Wii U and the 3DS, which even though the 3DS was a success, it wasn't as much as the DS before it, which itself wasn't as much, or rather, I'm sorry, so it was like a drop even compared to the DS. So it's fun to see just how much Nintendo turned their fortunes around, which of course we have to give a massive amount of credit and props to someone who unfortunately is no longer with us, being Iwata, which was with the Switch effectively being his final product, and wasn't able to see it through to its to see how much success it would bring Nintendo. Because it really did turn Nintendo's fortunes around. And that's something I was reminded of when we were reading the Iwata Asks book just last year, I think. So
yep. About a year ago.
And that's in another book coming up that I don't know if we can talk about yet, too. So
we will have coverage of this mysterious book in the near future. Well, not that near future, but yes, future-esque time. So, yeah. Final thoughts, Tris. Or Tom.
Oh.
No, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah,
I would love Nintendo to continue like the subscription virtual console more and expand that. I would love Game Boy or just keep those, put some more rare N64 titles on there. It's nice to see Nintendo going back and bringing back old series, and especially ones that we don't know about at all. And I would love to see one or two more brand new franchises like a Splatoon or Pikmin come out of the woodwork in these next 5 years, because it's time to experiment. I always love something new too. I know they don't necessarily sell as well, but it'd be great to see.
Actually, you bring up a really good point that I thought of earlier. Like, what do we think Nintendo needs to do to maintain the Switch's momentum? Like, how do they avoid the pitfalls of what happened with the Switch and the Wii and almost every other Nintendo platform by this point, Nintendo console, where they eventually run out of momentum? What does Nintendo need to do for the next several years, if not longer, to make sure that doesn't happen?
That's a really good question, and I think with Mario Kart, we already see at least somewhat of an answer to that. Of you update your popular games, you keep them alive, and you keep the hype going for them. That I hope that doesn't, bite me by coming back and, oh look, we're doing 3 more DLC packs for Smash. Or
we're never getting Mario Kart 9 or any other sequel to these games ever.
No, but I definitely think keeping some of their most popular titles alive is part of the answer. Like, we have 2 years of DLC coming to Mario Kart now. Maybe in like 2 years they'll see like, oh hey, Animal Crossing still like number 2 best-selling ever on here. Maybe if we do a little bit more in Animal Crossing again, it'll get people around again. And I think that kind of attention is something they couldn't do back in their older consoles. The closest they could have done was the Wii U, but there was no saving the Wii U at the point it was at. So this is kind of the first time they're really getting to experiment with that. I think Tom touched upon NSO, and I think if they actually push NSO further, give it the kind of virtual console library we saw the Wii U get, and then go, further than that. Give us more legacy titles like 3D All-Stars, collections of some titles, or, some GameCube titles ported to the Switch the same way Sunshine is within that. I think making the Switch their go-to way for, I want to say game preservation, but I know they don't care about it in that way. But game preservation, playing the more classic titles, making it the one spot for all Nintendo, or as, like 99 with an asterisk, as much as they can get, I think will keep a good momentum and keep people there.
Yeah, that's those are all strong points. It is. I think Nintendo has been historically oddly shy about their providing continued access to their back catalog. There was a period of time where it was like where the virtual console seemed like that was going to be it, and then of course they dropped support for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be one thing they could do is just continuing to improve the Switch Online service, continue to add support for it, make it so the Switch is like a one system destination for all of Nintendo's entire catalog. And I saw someone in the comments, I think Zach Pack mentioned like GameCube. Yeah, like GameCube will be huge. Like getting GameCube on there finally, that would be massive, and that would help. I think it bring back even maybe some lapsed fans who haven't bought into a Switch yet.
Are we here?
What? Why is OBS doing this? All right, I think we're back now. Are we? Okay, I think we're back. All right, sorry, chat, about that. I don't know why OBS decided to disconnect, so maybe that's a sign for us to start wrapping up soon.
Well, let's... GameCube, though, I wonder if it'd be super popular, but I don't know if people would necessarily, it would drive sales or anything, but it would be a huge surprise. But Artsy Omni had a 499 super chat, thank you. What new franchise can Nintendo come up with that also takes place in a post-apocalyptic Earth?
That is funny. That has been a trend with Nintendo, where for whatever reason, like every series seems to explore. It seems like every series moving forward is like starting to flirt with the idea the world is ending. We've had Pikmin, we have Splatoon, we have Kirby now, seemingly. Yeah. Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Why? What is Nintendo's obsession with the world ending?
I'm looking forward to Splatoon 3 with the salmon run mode in there too. I mean, I love that version of the future world the most in video games.
But yeah, I think what Nintendo just needs to do is just maintain a fresh supply of software. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like that's the problem they've run into before when they were supporting. I mean, effectively 3 platforms at a time. They had to support the existing 2 while planning support for a 3rd one, which is why, once again, I think they need to avoid that. They can't spread themselves too thin. So far, they've done a great job not doing that, and I'm hoping that they don't, or that they continue to, avoid that problem. Which again ties into why I think they will do a gradual generation upgrade rather than a sudden stop and start to a new one. I think that's it. They just need to keep supplying compelling, well-made software. They've had a good mix so far of new installments in existing franchises, making new IPs, although they could probably do a little bit better on that front, or just trying out some exotic new ideas like Ring Fit Adventure or Labo, which I know Labo. People love to use Labo as like, oh, you're paying $70 for cardboard. It's like you completely miss the point at that point. Like, I thought Labos is a really fun idea, even if having that many contraptions was a little annoying. I finally got rid of most of them recently. Because it was getting a little excessive.
Even VR?
I kept the VR ones. I kept the VR.
Okay.
And actually, there we go, Trust. That's an excellent point. I would love to see Nintendo dabble more with VR. But I think if a platform has a potential to really embrace it, I think it is Nintendo. Because a Switch, as LaboV already proved, is already capable as is. Now, with a Switch 2, I think they could lean far more into it with better hand tracking and whatnot. But I think they're able to use the existing Switch as, or not the existing Switch, but the basic Switch, form factor as that doubles as a VR platform. That is your into the marketplace, and as Breath of the Wild proved, at least for me, which you don't need to make you don't necessarily need to make VR exclusive experiences to be awesome in VR. I love playing through Breath of the Wild in VR, and that was the laziest update they could have done. I thought it was great. I had so much more fun in VR in that game than even normally. I'm like, man, I wish I could play almost every game from Nintendo in VR in this way. As Captain Toad kind of also proved later with its 4-level demo, I'm like, man, this is great. So I wish Nintendo would lean into that, and they could really, we've seen Oculus really kind of step up and try. I hate praising Facebook anyway, but Oculus has proven there is a demographic now for VR, and it's still small, but it is growing and fairly quickly for what it is. And I think Nintendo really could help capitalize on that with a fairly cheap VR optional platform that's that you can upgrade to with the Switch. You'd have to buy a goggle set or whatever. But I would love to see them further explore that. But with that being said, I don't think that's the key to maintaining momentum. I think it'd be a pillar to maintaining momentum, but that isn't solely it. So,
I keep thinking of a VR headset that you put on, you wear it, and you slot the Switch in the dock,
right?
And then the Joy-Cons slide into a thing you hold, one in each hand, and then there you go. But it feels like you can so simply conceptualize it. But there must be something that stopped them from taking the full leap from Labo VR to that. If they haven't already, I don't have plans to, but no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would guess that my assumption would just be that that Labo VR is testing the waters. I'm guessing that the existing Switch isn't at a level high enough where they'd be happy making, really making it a VR focus. Because to be fully honest, the resolution of the Switch isn't good in VR. There were plenty of moments of Breath of the Wild, is that an enemy or a bush? I can't literally tell until I'm 10 feet from it. But I still had a ton of fun. But I do think if they released a upgrade the Switch with a better screen, then it could actually possibly be a serious VR platform, or at least an optional VR thing. But yeah, that's probably why. I think even they realize that the Switch probably isn't at a level where they could go, where they could seriously make a serious VR contender. So
I think they would save it for a next one if they do that. And they have the perfect release for it. They have that unreleased, finished F-Zero 1 for Virtual Boy.
Oh my
there's your
god!
launch title.
There's your launch title, right? You bring back Zero Racers, I think it was.
I think it was like G0 or
Yeah,
something.
there you go. Keep the red wireframe. You're perfect. Get your launch title right there. Oh my god, that'd be amazing. I want that so much now. That'd be hilarious.
There's your new NSO launching with it. It's part of the expansion pack. You get your NSO collection of Virtual Boy titles.
Actually, that is, you know what? Legitimately, I think that actually would. I mean, it wouldn't. I think it actually would like get a lot of short-term excitement at least. Like being able to like re-experience those games, even if not in VR. I think it's probably better in not VR even. I think would be. I mean, once again, it speaks to like Nintendo's kind of like ignoring of its heritage. You know, it's like yeah, that system happened. It'd be awesome if there were a way to. For younger gamers, or I say younger, really anyone, those people didn't own a Virtual Boy, for them to even play those games. Like, it had some good games, you know? Wario Land Virtual Boy is considered by many to be one of the best in the series. It had Nestor's Funky Bowling, baby, which is a surprisingly fun bowling game. It had Galactic Pinball, which had a Metroid pinball table on it, before Metroid Pinball was a thing, you know? And I'm listing these out as if there's like many more examples. That's pretty much it.
I still have not played Virtual Boy. I'm tempted to if I visit you at some point, but at the same time, I don't have to wear glasses. I don't know if those two things are connected, but
it still disappoints me that they didn't. I mean, that's probably why I wear glasses, Tom. Actually, I didn't have to wear them before Virtual Boy. It still disappoints me that Nintendo had the perfect opportunities with the 3DS and Labo VR to either give us, Virtual Boy games or in Labo VR 3DS games in 3D, and they didn't, and they just didn't. So,
I think with Switch to be successful though, you probably have to keep pushing online multiplayer and get more services where people can connect together easily, and maybe. You know, Animal Crossing is great because you get to build stuff. Titles like that do well where people play it a long time. Keep focusing on some of those and more pushing forward the future of gaming, really. Like, as much as we love new Marios and stuff, it's got to be new things, too, on the horizon.
that actually is a really good idea, and that's actually kind of something Nintendo started dabbling with just a little bit in more recent times, like with the Tetris 99 and Mario 35 having these like large-scale multiplayer games. And that's something Nintendo could probably do, even more so, like more community-focused games, which, right now Animal Crossing is kind of the king of them, but I think a lot of people have fallen off of that as well. And I think that is probably a sector Nintendo should look into cultivating more. These games that do encourage you to come back, not necessarily through their design, but just because you want to, like these games that do encourage you to keep playing for long periods of time, rather than a lot of these games, like even Kirby, for instance. Like, I'm super hyped for Kirby, but I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna beat it, and I'm probably not gonna revisit it for quite some time, And Nintendo probably needs more of those evergreen titles that are appealing for a longer period of time. Breath of the Wild 2, like Breath of the Wilds are obviously along those lines, but Nintendo doesn't have a ton of those, so
that's true.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, all I ask is F-Zero 99 with 500 laps.
Yes!
Is that too much?
I want, F-Zero NASCAR, baby. Make that happen,
Yeah.
I want actual, like, real-time pit stops. I want to have, like, a night crew, like, to trade off drivers, like, in real life to continue racing even while you're sleeping. It'd be great. All right. Is there anything else we need to touch on here? We've already strayed from the path of you a little bit. Anything else? Any final topics, Tris or Tom?
I think 112 was bringing it up. Will drift ever be solved?
God, I hope so. I mean, I thought it was hilarious that the Steam Deck even seemingly had its own drift issue initially. It seems like it might have been a software thing. So yeah. Even like my new Joy-Cons both suffer from either wireless connection issues every now and then, or B, like Joy-Con drift. It's like, how is this not a thing? So that is something Nintendo absolutely needs to fix permanently on their next Switch, because it's annoying dealing with it still after all these years on every set of Joy-Cons I have, pretty much. Yeah. Oh, here's a question. Go ahead, Tom.
If Nintendo Switch goes on 5 years, do we get Mother 3 on the last 10th year of the Switch?
I mean, I still say no.
I don't know. It's weird. I feel like there's just been enough things happening recently where I'm starting to feel like a little glimmer of hope again. Like, especially with the creator of Mother 3 tweeting out something recently about how he wants more people to play the game, I think, or something to that effect, or one of the creators of the game, I forget exactly who, But it sounds like if there were ever a time for it to be possible, it would be within the next few years. With that said, it still may never happen, but I hope that it does at some point. So, Dash Render, I believe, asked, will we see a 2D Mario anytime soon?
I think we could. I do. It was one of the series I listed in our 15 series that still need to come to the Switch, because obviously there's new Super Mario Bros. U DX with Peachette, which is basically just a port. And there's Mario Maker 2, which is user-generated. That's not the same as Nintendo making their own 2D Mario and putting it out to the world. I do think, and we haven't seen what that team has been working on. And we know back in like 2019, the 2D Mario team was hiring after Mario Maker came out, or Mario Maker 2 came out. So they've been working on something. So maybe we could see a 2D Mario sometime within the next 5 years before the console lifespan ends.
I think that's going to depend on whether or not they do 3D Donkey Kong. If they do 3D Donkey Kong, that's a good opportunity to do 2D Mario. But if it's like Mario Odyssey 2, I would hope it's something like a Wario Land or something in 2D again. Mm-hmm. Like if it was a Mario, or just if it was Mario taking a different, maybe 2D hand-drawn style or something like that. Like something different than a new Super Mario Brothers.
That would be nice. A nice 2D art style.
I guess they could do a Paper Mario platformer again, but...
Super Paper Mario 2!
Yeah.
On a similar note to this question, by the way, I want to point out in chat, Gaming Gain... No, not Gaming Gains. Who said it? I don't know how to pronounce this. Giulsme? Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, that's as close as I would guess.
Will we ever get a brand new 2D Zelda? Or maybe Zelda Maker? And that's also what we're talking about, because the last new 2D Zelda... technically was, I guess if you count it, was A Link Between Worlds, unless you mean like Adventure of Link 2D, like Zelda 2. That, no. But another top-down Zelda, like Link to the Past, or the more recent remake of Link's Awakening, I mean, we know they're not afraid to revisit that kind of style of gameplay. So it would be great to see a brand new Zelda in that style again, like A Link Between Worlds was. But it's also been like almost 10 years since that game, so who knows?
I hope it's a new one. I hope they do like Link's Awakening, then a new one, and not like another remake of Link to the Past. I loved Link Between Worlds. Andre's probably mad at me because I liked it more than the Super Nintendo one. But anyway,
I'm closing this
like, how dare you talk?
Right now. We are done here. We'll not stand for this. No.
But you went on walls, Andre. We were like flat Link. It was so good.
That's true. They should make they should port that to Switch. Like I think people would love to revisit that in HD. I think.
I would love to see that actually. I would love to see that.
Eric says, I need a nap. It's true. I mean, not just because I'm upset and I'm having a tantrum, but also because I'm about to pass out.
you do look very tired.
Yeah, I think it's starting to catch up with me now. That 4 hours, that 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours.
Don't feel bad, Andre. In the Mina the Hollower 24-hour live stream that their pixel artist Waz stayed up the whole time for, he fell asleep on the couch for 5 minutes while playing a game.
Was there anyone there to wake him up, or did he just...
Yeah, people were there. It's like, hey, why is it... he just slept on the couch.
That's hilarious. That's funny. All right, so I think it's about time for us to officially wind down here. But first off, I want to thank everyone for joining us for our 5-year celebration of Nintendo Switch. As part of that, I will have a few things to go over. First of all, if you enjoyed chatting with us, chatting to the chat, chatting among the chat, I'm going to post a link to our Discord. It's a private Discord, so it's only available by invite. Give it a click. There are 100 invites available right now. It's in the chat right at this moment from us. Go check out if you want to chat with other people in the GameXplain community. It's a great place to go. And since it is a 5-year anniversary of the Switch, as we mentioned in the title and earlier, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch OLED. You can see it here. Don't be fooled by the red and blue Joy-Cons. It is a Switch OLED. We have one of them we're giving away. Unfortunately, it's only available to people in the United States, but if you want to try to win it, just click the link in the description to our Twitter, follow us there, retweet it, and reply to it, and they'll enter you in for a giveaway that will decide on March 10th being Mario Day for your chance of winning a Switch OLED, and then we'll send it out pretty soon thereafter to whoever wins. So that should be fun. because the Switch, as we just went over, has 5 years of amazing games, and hopefully 5 more years of amazing games. We're only halfway through the cycle, according to Nintendo, so if they're telling the truth, you got plenty of life left in that thing. So, all right,
Yep.
Tom, Triss, any final words before we wrap it up?
Happy 5 years, and here's to more.
It's nice not to have the gloom and doom Nintendo chat going on. I
That's true.
positive one, but it is a roller coaster.
It is.
It'll be like this.
It'll come back. It'll come back on the
Yeah.
cycle. So, but yeah, it has been a long time since we've heard it, which is nice. So, thank you for the kind words, Octoboy, and everyone else who joined us for the stream. It's been a ton of fun talking with all of you. And with that, though, we're going to finally wrap it up here. It's been a ton of fun. We'll see you again in 5 years for the 10th anniversary, and probably well before that for tons of other stuff, too, including, I imagine, a Mario Party Superstar stream sometime this weekend, if I can recover enough before then. But on that note, happy 5 years, Nintendo Switch, and to everyone, and happy 5 more, hopefully. And thank you so much for watching. So, once again, join our Discord if you can, or if you want. Enter in our Switch giveaway, and we will catch you all soon enough for tons more Switch coverage, Kirby coverage, Triangle Strategy coverage, and everything else Nintendo coverage here. But that's what we do. And even non-Nintendo coverage. We'll see you later, everyone. Bye. I'm gonna go sleep now. I'm looking forward to that.